What's up, Hoochies? We are back again for another week of Lace Convos with Jew, and I have a special guest here today, my lovely, lovely, lovely friend DeJonae here. Thank you, Boo, for joining me.
Not a problem. I'm excited. I'm
Yes.
happy to be here. I'm happy to
I'm
be here.
so excited. We actually met up, what was it, the Sunday after my birthday? And I was like, listen, I really would love you on my podcast. You
Yes,
have to join.
yes.
And it was just like the perfect timing. So she is here for yet again another episode of us just keeping it laced, keeping it transparent, and just really talking about life in general, talking about real life stuff, the things that we go through every day, especially as women, especially as young women out here in
Yes.
today's society. And I'm excited. I'm very, very excited.
Yes.
How you feeling, girl? Is you
I
enjoying
feel
your
good.
Sunday?
I feel good. I'm enjoying this Sunday. I woke up late, still made it though.
Yes, yes.
But yes, I feel good. I feel good. And this week has, well, not this whole week, but like
hmm
Friday was just like extremely heavy
Yeah.
for me. And so like
Mhm.
yesterday, I just took a day for myself to just relax and just to
Absolutely.
reset. And then I woke up today just rejuvenated, ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you need that. Like literally yesterday, I wasn't feeling too well because of some dental issues, but
hmm
I was like, listen, I just want to go to sleep. I just want to lay down. And that's all I did. And it felt so good this morning waking up. I felt refreshed. Like,
hmm
let me go to church. Let me go and enjoy the day. And
hmm
sometimes you just need that moment of rest, solitude. And, it's cool to be outside, but not every
Yeah.
weekend. Not every weekend.
That.
It's cool to be outside. Don't
That's
get me wrong. I
fine.
love me a good Sunday fun day, but sometimes you need a break.
hmm
Okay? But like I mentioned, I'm so excited for you to be here and for you to join me on my podcast. It means the world to me because my whole intention with this podcast was to not just have myself on this platform to talk, but make it a safe space for many women to come on and connect and totally vibe out and just talk about real life stuff.
Yeah.
It's important to me to create safe spaces, not just for myself, but other women, my friends, my family. And I think that's something that we lack, especially in our generation, when it comes to talking about the taboo conversations with our friends. Because
hmm
sometimes you fear of the judgment, you fear of
hmm
somebody condemning you, you fear of just, I don't know what they're going to think, and the
hmm
speculation. Like, no, we're just being transparent because we all have our flaws, we all have our
hmm
struggles. So why not? Why not create a platform where, women can just be women. Period.
Yes.
Women can just
Yes.
be
And I
women,
love that.
and yes, without the whole like competition and comparison. Like, no, we're just on here chopping it up, having a good time, and
hmm
really helping each other evolve and grow to the next level.
hmm Yeah.
So, lately, and I'm pretty sure my audience has heard, and they've listened to all of the previous episodes. I've talked about everything on this podcast thus
hmm
far. We just wrapped up the whole sex series where we really dived into the whole taboo subject of sex. A lot of times in our community, especially in Black communities,
Yes.
we're left to assume and wonder and find out information when it comes to sex from outside sources
Right.
versus, the people that make very impactful, I guess you could say very impactful points in our life. So instead of you
hmm
getting that information from your mother, your family member, your best friends, you're getting it from social media, the TV,
hmm
things of that nature.
Yeah.
And it was really dope to have this conversation. Like I've said before, many of the topics that we talk about, it's stuff that I'm either dealing with, processing myself, trying to wrap my mind around it.
hmm
And
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only person thinking
Yeah.
that. So this conversation that we're gonna have is it's really cool. It kind of worked itself out
It
because
did.
I wanted to end it on this note. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
I'll give my backstory as to why personally later. But I wanted to end it on this note because we left off with, learning more about ourselves, being okay and being unapologetic about learning who you are, what it is that you desire when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sex, when it comes to romance. What is it that pleases you? And as much as that is important, as far as self pleasure, as far as pleasure with your partner, I also wanted to tackle what could be some barriers or obstacles as to why we can't get to that level of intimacy or get to that level of success when it comes to pleasure. And one of my hiccups was the conviction or the discernment behind what I was taught and what I was raised,
Mhm.
my faith, and the
Mhm.
timing of when I'm having these type of, I guess you could say, connections or
The
intimacy.
or what we think.
Yes. So that's one of my hiccups because I know that what I believe, and let me just put the disclaimer out there, and I think we probably both share the same
Mhm.
belief. But what I believe is obviously I believe in God, and I have my own personal journey with God. So I know for a fact, I know right from wrong. Right, I know
Mhm.
right from wrong, and I know that His word is obviously we should save that for marriage, save that for your spouse. And I ain't gonna lie to you, and that's part of the conversation. I'm a human being, just like everybody else.
Yes, just
Okay.
like everyone else, and I feel like that's what
Exactly.
people have to understand. We are
Exactly.
human. We are
Mm-hmm.
not pushing for perfection, or you shouldn't be pushing for perfection.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we are flawed. And
Exactly.
it's gonna be some hiccups.
And a part of the church is like, sometimes it is a situation of, okay, you can't have sex, you shouldn't have sex, but like they totally dismiss the fact that I still need to know what it is. I still need to,
Exactly.
I need to be equipped
Yes.
with this because how can I please my husband when it's time when I don't even know? I
Mhm.
don't know. You ain't told
Mhm.
me nothing. You just pushed me
Right.
out there. But
Exactly.
yes, so that's a part of the subject. I know everybody is going to be very intrigued by this. I'm all for pushing envelopes in 2023.
Okay. That's what needs
but
to
bef-
happen.
yes, but before we get into that, I want to go ahead and break down how did I meet my lovely friend here. What's crazy, one thing about me, and I'm pretty sure people have found that out by now, I have never met a stranger. Once you meet me, we connect. That's it. We
Yeah.
vibe. you know?
That's what it's been.
Um, and it's always genuine vibes when I get up with you and we hang out or we talk. But we actually met each other through a mutual friend,
Yes.
and it hit off from there. And I'm so grateful. Like seriously, I'm very, very grateful for the actual connection and being able to meet you in that sense because I feel like sometimes you need to meet certain people at certain times in your life because they give you a different perspective that maybe you wouldn't even think, or maybe that's the lane you need to go down. Maybe they're the ones to remind you. And I think our last conversation after my birthday, it really sparked like this flame in my head, like
I love
mm,
it. Okay.
yeah, and it was a good one, like wow, she just reminded me of some things. Let me, and you need that in a friendship. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, we literally just became friends not too long ago, like what, months
No.
ago, maybe. But
Whatever.
it's been,
Yeah. It hasn't even
yes,
been a year.
yeah, because I want to say, I know it
Yeah.
was towards the summer, because I know it was at her
Mhm.
game night or whatever, at Raven's game night, and it was, like I said, an amazing connection. I'm very thankful for Raven for introducing us,
Mhm.
and it's just an amazing and a refreshing feeling to meet people, and it's genuine vibes. It's no,
Yes.
like, like a mask or a facade, like you've been the same
Right.
person at the beginning to now.
Shit.
So that's the deal with that. But I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to see what we, transpire
We
into
got
and have more and more
to.
best friends. Yes, ma'am. So with all of my guests, when I bring you on, I always do this thing called Lace Q&A.
Okay.
Okay, and depending on the topic, it can go from real hot to real cool. So I'm gonna keep it like medium today. I'm gonna keep it medium, but just some questions, just to have my audience really get to know you, and me even get to know you, and you get to know me more in regards
Yeah.
to some open ended questions to make you think. Right.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Ooh.
She like, ooh, this caught me off guard.
The hardest I've ever done.
hmm
Hmm. The hardest thing I've ever done to date without getting emotional is closing my dad's casket.
Yeah, yeah. I can only imagine that.
The
Yeah,
hardest thing I've ever done.
yeah. Okay, I can totally understand and imagine that because that's something that we do have in common. We both lost our fathers, so I can only my heart goes out because it's hard. It's hard losing somebody, especially when you have a really close connection with them. It's very hard losing that and knowing that, moving forward, that person will be missing from those
Mm-hmm.
experiences. However, he's always watching and looking down on you. And I know he's very proud of you because, like, you're super dope. Like,
Yeah.
seriously. She's the dopest person ever. Seriously. She's super dope and just, how you could tell when people, how back in the day, like our grandparents would be like, oh yeah, they come from good people. You
Mm-hmm.
can tell that about you. And
Thank
since
you.
day one, like you've been very poised and not in a fake kind of way, but just a very poised and graceful
Mm-hmm.
person. And not everybody has that and able
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And even when we met and I realized, I think we were talking about like ages and I was like, wow, she's really young, but like the maturity level, like on point, like
Yeah.
girl, any day,
Shout out
girl.
to
I
my
know
parents.
some overgrown people that ain't nowhere near. Okay, baby, nowhere near. So that's really dope, and I know that your parents they definitely invested in and put much love into you. You can tell that when a person is raised around love and compassion and humility and just like it you exude that period.
Mm-hmm. Thank
So
you.
super
Thank you.
dope. That's super dope. Let's see. The hardest thing probably that I've ever done was uh the hardest thing I probably ever have ever done is the loss of my grandmother was really hard for me and being away
Mm-hmm.
during that time, like
Mm, yeah.
and feeling so disconnected. Because when you're away, it's like, I can't get to you. I can't see you on every day. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have that normal interaction. So even the way I found out, like it was crazy. Social media got to me before my mother got to me. So it was just like, you know. And then the time and I lost my grandmother. No, I'm sorry, I lost my father. Then I lost my grandmother, like months apart in the same
Mm,
year. So it was really hard battling that and trying to wrap my mind around that, dealing with grief and still being away in school, having other, responsibilities. Because when you're young, I mean, you don't really think about that. You know what I mean? And you don't appreciate time. You really don't.
that is true.
You don't.
Because we feel like we have all the time in the world because we're
Exactly.
young. But baby, look around. These people, these kids are dying. People are dying
Yes.
younger and younger every year.
Yes.
So
Dropping like flies. I hate to
yes.
say it like that, but literally that's
Mhm.
exactly what is going on. And I didn't recognize that time is of the essence until like later on in life. And I was like,
Mhm.
man, like all the time wasted of either being sad or, you know what I mean? I get that you're going to have emotions, but it just makes you value time a little bit
Yes,
better.
it does. It does.
Okay, let's see. The next question. If you only had 5 more years to live, would you change anything about your life?
I wouldn't.
Really?
I wouldn't change anything about my life.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact that everything that I have brought to and where it's brought me today.
Mm.
I am so
Okay.
thankful for the internal work that has been working into me or working
Mm-hmm.
in me, obviously, by the power of God. And I just feel like if I didn't go through certain things that I went through, or even good experiences, like
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I recognize now, it's like, dang, I wouldn't have recognized that if I didn't go through that experience.
Exactly.
So, and I
Yeah.
have like a level of appreciation for certain things because of the things that I've gone through and
Yeah.
experienced. So,
It molds you. It
yeah,
creates the person that you are.
so,
It builds the humility. It brings the integrity. Like it
hmm
gives you that character, and I don't think people realize that. So that's important. That's
and
very
that's
important.
one
Absolutely.
thing. I think the only thing, if I was to
Okay.
say anything, I think
Mm-hmm.
that. thing that I'll probably change is well, everybody, like, when you're young and you don't know nothing about money,
Mm-hmm.
I would go back and like teach myself like that financial literacy
Yes.
at the beginning,
Girl.
not at 25, at 20.
Girl. Girl.
So that's the
Start
only
with
thing I
the
think I would
student
change.
loans, the credit card, all of that. Girl, that's the only part of my life that I not necessarily regret, but I wish I could redo. Because I don't know
Yeah,
who I thought
redo,
I
redo.
was.
Yeah, redo for sure.
I don't know. Girl, you would have thought I was Paris Hilton, the life I was living in my head. And I'm not. I'm not. I'm like, what happened? What happened to that lifestyle? But
Okay.
absolutely, I can agree with that. Especially the part when you say, all of the experiences that you went through, it has molded you into the woman that you are now. And it's kind of like it prepares you for what we're going through now, how to live life now on your own. So,
Exactly.
absolutely. I will say one thing that I would possibly change, but something in a way I'm doing that now. I'm living very like unapologetically, like
Okay.
to not just give a darn, like do whatever it is you want to do. Get out of my own way. And that's something I have to
Mhm.
keep reminding myself. Get out of your own way. You are the only person blocking it. That's it.
Mhm.
So I would definitely change my fear sometimes. And it's crazy because obviously if you believe in God, you should have faith and you should not live in fear. But we're human, and a lot of times I do let my fear get in the way of what I could possibly see myself at, or the
Mhm.
possibilities and the opportunities. So yeah. And of course the whole debt thing. Absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
be a millionaire by now. A millionaire, okay? Girl. Okay. What do you most enjoy about? Well, I'm going to assume. Are you single?
I am.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. Things can
Yes.
change. You never know. I have to ask these questions. So, what do you most enjoy about being single?
Oh, what I most enjoy about being single
Mm-hmm.
the most, because I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy a lot. The most, um, getting to know me.
Mm.
Getting
That's
to know me is the most like the best thing. Um, I would say because I feel like when we get into relationships, in my
mm-hmm.
experiences, we always try to become the person that we think our partner wants.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of bury things that we actually need, or we kind of bury things that is trying to come out because that is our genuine self and not something
Yeah.
that we're trying to portray or be. So being single and getting to know myself allows me
Mm-hmm.
to know what I need from my partner and like who I am. Does that make sense?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I love most about being single.
I like that.
I've never been like a serial dater,
Mm-hmm.
but every single time I get into a relationship and I've gotten out of it, I have always learned something, either what I did in that sense that was
Mm-hmm.
against what I believe in, but I was just doing it to please them,
Mm-hmm.
versus my natural state and where I stand. So it's
Yeah.
like I have to know myself and my singleness, so I'll know what to do when I am joined with
Hello.
my husband, because
Exactly.
ain't gonna be too many more. Ain't gonna be too many more.
I know
Too
that's
many more
right. I
dating
know that's right.
experience.
He said ain't
It's
gonna be too many
crazy.
more. Absolutely. And it goes with like how can you mesh with someone else if you don't necessarily know who you are as a person? Like you
Exactly.
haven't
Mm-hmm.
confirmed that. And a lot of times we feel like, oh, I know me until I was listening to something on Instagram or somewhere on social media, and the girl was like, you hear those questions all the time where they say, well, what do you like to do? And the most person would be like, oh, well, I like to go hang out. But, like, what is it truly that brings you joy,
Exactly.
that brings you enlightenment? And
Yes.
do you do that on a regular?
Right. Exactly.
Because I can think of a million things that I like to do, but have I done those things recently? No. When was the last time I went to a museum? Ugh. You
Exactly.
know?
I like to go
So really
hiking,
finding out.
biking. It's so generic.
Yes,
It's so
yes,
generic.
yes.
So,
That makes a lot of sense. Really getting to know yourself, and I think that's where I currently am on my journey. Like every day, it's a new learning process of
mhm,
just finding out what it is that not only excites me, but what are the things that tick me off, and what are the things that I don't like.
exactly.
What are the things? What are my hard no's? Because a lot
Exactly.
of times when you don't know your hard no's, you end up falling for all of the maybes
All the
and the
movies,
okey
all the
doke.
different
Okay.
areas,
Yes.
just poor communication. You fall for it all. When you
Exactly,
don't
because you don't have a
understand, you don't stand on
stance.
your ground. Exactly.
Exactly.
No standard.
Hello, you don't have a stance of, hey, no, this is what I want. This is what I need. These are my expectations. So absolutely on that. I think in addition to that, what I like the most is the ability, the freedom to take care of me
Oh yes,
and make
that
me
one
a
for
priority.
sure. That's top two.
Take care of me, make me a priority, love on me, because what I'm learning is the more I love on myself, the more I learn myself, the more I'm getting used to just spending time with myself. The outside people then recognize what it is that I expect. And I don't even have to say anything.
Mhm.
Because they already know, well, I see you already. You buying yourself flowers. You take yourself out. You don't necessarily wait on a person to do that for you. So if I
Yes.
can't match that, no need for me to even approach you.
Exactly.
Period. So I'm
Exactly.
enjoying that. I'm enjoying doing that and making myself a priority, because a lot of times we decide once we get in a relationship, even in friendships and family, we put other
Mhm.
people before us, and
Mhm.
then we're left with nothing.
Mhm.
So making myself a priority because I deserve
You
it.
did.
you know?
You did.
All right, the last one. Uh which temptation do you try the hardest to resist?
This confession that I try the hardest to resist.
Ooh, child. I got a whole list of them.
Temptation. Um. um, I would say eating for sure. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been failing. I've been failing
Mm-hmm.
so bad.
Yeah.
Um. Of course, staying abstinent.
Yeah.
Um. I haven't gotten to the screaming of Jesus come and do something yet,
Mm-hmm.
but just her thoughts and not acting on my feelings, not
mm-hmm.
acting on the urge.
Yeah.
Um, and I think those are my biggest, honestly.
Yeah.
Like my unhealthy relationship with food at the moment, and I say it's unhealthy because at this point I'm like eating just because it's there,
And not
and
necessarily eating
everyone's
because
always
you're
like,
hungry.
right,
Mm-hmm.
like where's it going? Where's it going, baby? I can see it, like I can see it.
I know
So
where it's going, right?
uh, yeah, and then the temptation of just like wanting to be snuggled up and cuddled
Yeah.
up with a handsome fellow,
Mm-hmm.
but knowing that
Yeah.
it's not all about the cuddle. No.
Girl.
Don't pick up
Girl.
your phone to call him.
Girl. Put that
When
phone
you have another,
down.
yeah. So in that sense, what helps
Yeah.
me is just protecting my gates, what I watch, what I listen to, the
Mm.
type of environments, the type of conversations I even indulge in.
Mm-hmm.
And when those thoughts come, no, get me behind me, stay tuned, okay? Because um, I have to. I don't know how long this journey is going to be for me.
Exactly.
So those are my biggest two that I'm just karate chopping, beating
Not
up
karate chopping, girl. Look,
every day.
whatever you got going. Okay, no, we're not doing this
Whatever
today.
I have,
Absolutely
yeah.
not.
So those are my hardest ones.
No.
It's like, don't
Yeah,
call him. Don't freaking get on Uber Eats like you're not hungry. Like stop. Go do
exactly.
something else. So the
It's the
turn,
discipline.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
it's the
definitely
discipline. The discipline is, and I never realized how much discipline means, especially when you are on a faith walk, when you are trying to be better and live Christ like. I never realized how big discipline plays a part.
yes, and it's discipline and it's submission. Like
Ooh,
when you
yes.
live for God, when you
Mm-hmm.
live for God, it's not about what we want, and I feel like that's where the mark is missed. Like that's where we miss the mark
Yeah,
because we feel like God should control our feelings. Baby, no. Like He's
exactly. You're
Lord.
living for Him.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's that's just yeah.
girl. But you know something, conversations like this help other people, even believers, non-believers, whatever. It helps them realize that this walk is real. Like, it's not, oh, okay, you join church and that's it. You know what I mean? Oh, it's real, okay? Real
Yeah,
life, and a lot of times people don't see that side of it. They only see, oh, this person joined church and now they're just perfect. No
nope,
one is perfect.
nope, nope, nope,
There is
nope.
struggle every single day, okay? Just the
Exactly.
other day I had to think, what would Jesus do? Because right now he's it's nowhere near me. It's nowhere near
Real.
what I want to
Oh
do,
my God,
okay?
exactly.
Yes.
So
So,
yeah,
and I mean, it doesn't always have to include just sex. It could be, or intimacy. It could
mhm.
be, maybe your quick reaction to anger, or, some of the smart remarks that you may want to put, or being on social media and allowing that to be a priority versus getting,
Yes,
involved and getting into your word, or having an alone time
yes,
with God. It could be drinking. It could be smoking, whatever it is.
whatever it is.
Exactly. That you have put before your walk with God.
Yes, yes,
And I'm
your
starting to
idol.
realize that. I'm
Mhm,
starting to realize that for me, and literally for me,
mhm,
um, having this podcast has forced me to. I mean, I'm a social media type of girl. I love social media. Cool, cool, no problem. However, having a podcast now, it's a pleasure and it's a job, right? So I'm on there all day. I'm on there all day. I'm scrolling. I'm liking. I'm reposting. I'm doing this, and I'm consuming a lot. I'm consuming a lot. And so now my thing is I'll wake up and be checking my emails, checking my text messages, looking, scrolling, like literally as soon as I wake up. And then
mhm,
I'm like, wait, when was the last time I had a devotion?
mhm, mhm,
And I noticed that my day is off. My attitude is
mhm.
off. Like, don't come at me at 9. Reach me at 11 because I might just bite back. Like
Right.
I'm very irritable, and like my whole today's a bad day. Tomorrow's a bad day. Like everything is off because I haven't had that time to center myself and to also have that personal time with God. And I
Yes.
noticed that. So at the
Yes.
beginning of Lent, I was like, yeah, I gotta give God the first hour of my day and at least the first hour of my day and the last hour of my day.
Yeah.
He needs my full attention. Now, of course, I'm talking to him throughout my day. I'm praying throughout, but devoted time, the
Mhm.
first beginning of my day and the end of my day has to be.
Yes. That's what I was gonna say. Establish time because,
Yeah.
um, that is whatever works for you. God is the
Hmm.
same God in the morning as He's gonna be in the afternoon. At
Exactly.
lunchtime, it doesn't matter.
It don't
But it's
matter.
like He has showed up for us, and I'm not gonna say the least, but what you should do
Hmm.
is show up for Him. You make an
Exactly.
appointment because there
Exactly.
has been times where he's made an appointment and we're just like, oh, like it's always, oh, I feel something. No, it's the Holy Spirit urging you.
Hmm.
So please
Exactly.
engage him. And if you just
Exactly.
have one of those days to where you're trying to do what everybody else is doing, that's when you need to figure out what works best for you. Sally may get up at 5 a.m. because that is what correlates best with her schedule.
Hmm.
But you ain't got to
Hmm.
get up at 5. Just set
Exactly.
a personal date like
Hmm.
at this time, this is always going to be my time that I meet with God. Whether it's
Exactly.
5 a.m. or 7 p.m. Every day, just make that a practice. And that is what
Exactly.
it ain't. Well, I didn't pray today. Don't feel no like. Because and that is breaking out of religion.
Hmm.
Um, you don't have to just do all of these things. Like he is surrounding us. Just take that established time and go speak with
Exactly.
him. Know it is a conversation. So when you pray, sit and wait for his answer and wait for his response.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be back and forth.
Girl, and it's something needed. It's something, like I said, it centers me, it grounds me, and it gives me clarity for the day where I don't feel like I'm all over the place. I don't feel like I'm just out here. You know what I mean? And, it kind of reminds me of who I am and what I'm here for,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
So that's probably one of, I guess you could say, one of my hardest temptation is just not falling prey or not falling prey. Yeah, not falling prey to my flesh. And my flesh asks for many different things.
Mhm.
And it tries to prioritize other things before God. But I have to remind myself of who woke me up this morning, you know?
Okay. We blew that breath.
So that, and then of course, like, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Being a single person out here with all these fine looking people, it can be very tempting,
Exactly.
it can be very tempting, but knowing the end goal, knowing the tunnel vision, and knowing at the end of this tunnel, the destiny is for me to be aligned and be married to someone that shares this same mindset, that shares
Yeah.
this same intention, and saving that for that person
Yeah.
versus giving it to any and everybody, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And I think that leads us into what we're actually talking about today. Um, I named the episode Saints and Sinners because, girl, I just find it funny because it used to be this show called
Yes.
Saints and Sinners. You
And
seen
I'm
it before?
behind. Yes. I am so
Girl,
behind though. I need to catch up.
I
But I
thought only
started
my
to
mama watched that show.
no, I'll
Girl,
watch it.
it was too much going on that show. Too much going on. Too much. Too much. Way too much. I don't know. I feel like I seen more sinners than I seen saints. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. But I named it that because, like I said, we ended the previous series about sex and getting to know more about that topic, and I realized that a part of my journey is I was having some hiccups when it comes to intimacy.
Mhm.
And I'm a type of person, I think many women, especially, we're very emotional beings. So we
Mhm.
need to have that mental connection, that emotional connection with the person before we get to that whole intimacy side. And I knew that obviously I needed that. I knew that was the expectation. But then I'm having hiccups again. Like, why can't I just do the do? Why can't I just get this out the way? And the
Mhm.
reality dawned on me is it's the conviction in me.
Mhm.
Because I know that this isn't my person.
Mhm.
God has already told me that.
Mhm.
He's shown me all of the red flags.
Mhm.
But I'm so committed to what my flesh wants that I've
Mhm.
totally avoided those red flags. And I've made these red flags now orange flags. And now the orange flags have turned to yellow flags. So it's really not that bad. It's just a
Mhm.
warning, right?
Yes.
And there's a reason why I can't intimately connect with this person because one, we're not aligned and connected when it comes to the spiritual level. And I
Mhm.
know for a fact that this isn't my person. And this
Mhm.
isn't the person that God wants me, what he holds and cherished so well. He don't want me sharing that with this person because that's not my
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, why not talk about it? Because it's the truth. I mean, it's the reality. It's something that we face
Yes.
every day,
Yes. Mhm. That's
So,
what it is.
what you say?
Oh, I said, yeah, that's what it is.
Absolutely. And so, it honestly is okay. The whole topic, is, of course, is saints and sinners, but it's basically the thin line between living in the world versus of the world.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard that before?
Yes, that's
You
scripture.
heard? Yeah. So I had to call my mom, girl, because I'm not no Bible scholar. I was like, Mom, what's the quote? I know it's somewhere in that Bible. Tell me
Mhm.
where is it? But she broke it down: living in the world versus living of the world. And when you are, when you believe in God, obviously there are expectations of you. You have to uphold these
Mhm.
expectations. And that includes, like, of course, when it comes down to denying your flesh of the things that aren't appropriate for you to be
Right.
doing. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's just what it is.
Yes.
And a lot of times we get it like, oh, well, maybe I just wasn't attracted to that person. Maybe it wasn't just the timing or the mood. But honestly, I really do believe that that's just God's discernment. That's God's conviction of saying, this ain't what you're supposed to be doing. That's not why
And
you're here.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing that people are supposed to be doing, women and men, in your singleness is being focused on your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That is the assignment for us to do while we are.
Absolutely.
There is a reason why people feel certain things when they are connected to people in a sexual way, because it is a nonverbal contract
Mm-hmm.
that you are okay with this person transferring their physical to you, their spiritual
Yeah.
to you, their emotions to you.
Yeah.
So it's like you may be feeling depressed, you may be feeling anxious, you may be feeling down, you may be feeling a certain way and you don't know why. Look who is laying in your bed.
Ooh,
That's the
girl.
first part that you need to look at. And
Yeah.
again, we have all fallen victim to this.
Absolutely. It's
We
a
have
struggle
all
every
fallen
day.
victim to this. But when you
Yes.
know
Yeah.
why the Lord put sex in a container of marriage, you now have a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't want to live up to that responsibility, it's not about, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. Da, da, da. Just say that you lack self discipline. Just be honest.
Yeah.
And just say that you're not doing it because you just don't want to do it. But so many people make up these excuses as to why, oh, that's too hard. So, and what I'm saying right now, this is not for the non believer, because at this
Mm-hmm.
point, y'all don't believe the scripture anyway. And
She
I
said,
hope
I don't
that you
believe the scripture.
do. you know,
Absolutely. And I mean,
I
yeah, you're not aware.
I hope
And
that you
yeah,
do, but I know that's always an argument.
yeah.
Always an argument. Well, I want to do this with my body, and I want to have that with my body, but what the Bible says, and who I believe to be Messiah, which is Jesus Christ, says
Mm-hmm.
that I cannot fornicate. It says a whole bunch of stuff that I cannot do.
Right.
But since I am going through my abstinent journey, it has not been because um, I'm waiting to get married. It is
Yeah,
because it is part of my worship, period.
exactly.
And if you're someone that can't do it, or, well, people always say what they can't do
Mm,
without even doing it. But
exactly.
that's why I say, just say that you lack self discipline, if
Absolutely.
especially if you are a person that considers yourself a believer.
And it's a part of the sacrifice. Like you said, it's a part of the sacrifice. It's a part of your journey. It's bigger than, oh, you just laying down with the next person. It's bigger. It's
Mm-hmm.
bigger than that, because you hold yourself up to a different expectation, you know what I mean? And you know that a part of this journey is I have to sacrifice some things. So God knows that I'm for real about this. I'm dead serious. This is personal for me. You know what I mean? And you know that he has something bigger and better for you outside of marriage, like beyond that. He's going to bless you based upon your sacrifice.
Yes, based upon your yes.
Exactly. And your submission. Your submission of
Yes.
saying, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just sacrifice some little two pumps, and that's it. Because let's be honest, that's what it be. Okay, that's what it's been. So just put it to the side. Put it to the side. I mean, but let's be honest. You know what I
No.
mean? I'm
Yes.
gonna sacrifice that because it wasn't doing it anyway, and I'm gonna go ahead and live my life righteously. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Have I gotten there? I don't, not on purpose. Not
Right.
on
It
purpose.
never happens. Ooh, it never happens on purpose. It
Not
never
on
happens
purpose.
on
It
purpose.
just
Like,
happens to happen.
today,
you know,
like,
girl. But I'm becoming I realized that I was lying to myself, and I
Okay.
was one of those people where like, oh well, I'm gonna make this scripture fit for my my lifestyle, and I'm gonna mold it to what I think it should say
And a lot
versus
of
reading
people
it black and white.
and a
Hmm.
lot of people do that.
Yeah, to make
Yeah.
you feel better. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oh well, I mean, I only did it one time. I think the other day I heard somebody say, and I mean, like I said, I'm not a Bible scholar, and I'm not condemning anyone, but it's just crazy the people's perspective, right?
Okay.
So I was watching this video, and there was another podcast, and the young lady asked the question. It was a live podcast, and the young lady asked the question. She said, "Well, technically, I'm still living in purity if I didn't necessarily have the act of penetration." And I was like, did she like say that to herself before she said it out loud? Because I need you to reset it, okay? Because that
Right.
can't make sense to you.
Right.
It,
But
you
you
know, it
know,
just can't.
but there are so many people that think like her because they never
Hmm.
got the right teaching of what sex is and
Exactly.
purity is, and like what purity culture has
Hmm.
done to believers. And just because he didn't penetrate, that
It's
doesn't mean
still
like it's still butt, oral, fingering, um,
whatever it is.
whatever it is, dry humping, whatever it is sexual
Exactly.
immorality.
You still
So
acted upon the sense of lust, and
yes,
it's still the
it's
same thing.
still exactly even sexting.
Hello, this is true. Sex and all that. I'm not denying it. It is very true. But people will put in their mind like, oh well, he did it to me and I didn't do nothing. It's still the same thing. Like, and there's no judgment on my end
Right,
because
it's right.
like I don't know.
Same.
I'm not
Mhm.
perfect. Like I said, I'm
And we're
I'm
learning.
only
These are
abstinent
things that we
because
have to learn.
yes, you have to learn. But here's the thing: once you learn to do better, you have to do better,
Yes,
or
there's a
else he will leave you
responsibility.
in that misery. He will leave you in that misery. And what I realized is God has a very funny way of doing things. Okay. And what should have been a point A to B destination, if you would have just followed his word, followed his direction, has now turned to an A through Z destination.
Because
You'd have been around the world, three different people, three different heartbreaks, scares, and everything else. It to only come back to B when you could
yes,
have been at B. You know what I mean? But that's really how life works. I've done it several times. God tell me to go left, I go right. I go right, and now I'm writing for the next 5 years. Like,
exactly.
what part
And
of it, girl? But as you said earlier, people aren't equipped with the proper knowledge when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to teaching. A lot of people, especially younger people, have swayed away from like the whole, I guess you could say, like, I don't even want to, because it's bigger than religion for me. For
mhm.
me, there's a difference between religion and actually having a personal relationship with God.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
so, and I think that the younger people have kind of swayed away from that because of church hurt, because of, oh, comparison, because of, oh, I don't do all of that traditional. But there's so many different avenues of church and so many different perspectives of church now. You have many different options. It's not always you sit in the Baptist church and it's hot and you know what I mean, you're there for 5 hours. It's not always that. You have
Mhm.
different ways of receiving this word. But the
Mhm.
reality is outside of the church, you have to have a personal relationship and you have to be open to learning and receiving what it is God is trying to teach you.
And that's 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and I do put, or not I, but a lot of people put the emphasis of the teaching on the pastor, but they
Mm-hmm.
are the messenger. They're not
Exactly.
responsible for your
Exactly.
relationship. They're not responsible
Mm-hmm.
for that. After you go and receive the word, go study it yourself. Go study the scriptures that they went over. And
Yeah.
then when you're studying the scriptures, so that you won't be that person that's trying to conform the scripture to cater to you,
Right.
you ask the
you
Holy
know?
Spirit for, you ask the Holy Spirit for understanding and right context,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's something that I know a lot of people don't read the Bible because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But even in Scripture, God tells us to go boldly before Him in prayer. Whatever we ask,
Mm-hmm.
we shall receive. However,
Exactly.
don't try to manipulate His hand. But
Exactly.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
for your understanding of His word and who He is and His characteristics, ask Him for that
Mm-hmm.
understanding, so that when you read it, if it's about, because Deuteronomy got a whole chapter, baby. When I read that about what we're not supposed to go after this,
Yes,
because I
girl.
can't think of the scripture right off the top of my head,
Uh-huh.
but there's a whole couple chapters about sexual immorality. There's
Really.
nothing new under the sun.
And it isn't.
Everything just gets traveled
Exactly.
to century to century.
Exactly.
So it's like you
Yep.
have to have that understanding to know. And it's okay that you don't, but hey, let's get into community. Let's get you
Exactly.
connected with someone who does. Let's get you, the understanding that you need, so that we can all do the
Yeah.
things that,
Absolutely.
give God the glory.
And
So
there's no gray area in it. It's black
there's
and white.
it is, baby, ain't no gray area.
No gray
Because
area.
when I be
There's no
studying,
girl.
sometimes I do. Sometimes I try to put myself in the shoes of
Yeah.
the disciples or just the people of the land that God has went to go, speak in the synagogues about, or even
Mm-hmm.
when, after the resurrection when the disciples went. And it's like, I would have been one of them people, probably, to been like, what y'all talking about?
Like what? Hold up. Repeat
Because it's like,
that. Uh-huh.
the reason why I encourage people, it's okay that you don't have all the answers, because
Mm-mm.
Jesus himself physically was there and they were still like, what?
Right. Exactly. Like, hold up. What you talking about? Because we was doing this for
Yes.
this, and you saying that. Like, make it make
Yes. So
sense.
it's like, don't feel
Absolutely.
bad. Because even
Mm-hmm.
when they had him in the flesh, they were still like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
had questions. So, yeah, it's, and a
And a
lot of
part of your
times we
journey
stuff
is having questions, and because
yes,
I mean, think about it. What do you sign up for? What do you agree to, and not have questions? Like, hold up, when you get a new job, okay, so
exactly,
what's the pay? What are the hours? What do I gotta do? Tell me what the
exactly,
responsibilities is.
yes,
That's normal. Anything that tells you anything that you sign up for that denies you the ability to ask questions, you don't need to be a part of.
no,
It's given a code, okay? It's given a code. If I
and
can't
that's
ask
how.
questions,
Mhm.
exactly. And there's a difference between asking questions so that way you can be more knowledgeable about, God and what he desires from us versus questioning God and what his expectation is. There's a difference. Like,
And he will give the answer specifically for
exactly.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Versus you making
Specifically,
up your
yes.
own. Yes. And I
Or
mean, mhm.
not just making up your own, but like trying to do what you see your friend doing. That's also in the
Mm.
walk of faith. Well,
Yeah.
she's talking like this, or she's praying like this, and she's doing it that way. But it's like
Exactly.
God will give you what he needs, a word specifically for you.
Girl. Which brings me to this whole like smoke and mirrors type of thing where we had, like mentioned, growing up in church. I grew up in church, always in church. And it went from me doing like this whole church thing as just a regiment. Like, this is tradition. You go to church on Sunday, that's it. You go back, okay? Every Sunday, whatever. Go to vacation Bible school, join a choir, be an usher. That's it. But there was no personal relationship for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
With God. Like, I knew of God. I knew, right from wrong. I knew my family grew up in the church and this, that, and the third, but I didn't necessarily go to church for the relationship part. So eventually, over time, after you done been through a couple of battle wounds, and you start to see God for yourself, you build that rapport, you build that relationship
Yes.
with Him, and now you're going for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're going for you're seeking something in church versus,
Yes.
oh, I'm just going to see my friends. And so a lot of times, what I notice is, and I mentioned this earlier, especially within the church, people don't showcase, not necessarily the struggle, but they don't showcase the real.
Mhm.
They don't they don't show like, hey, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I still struggle with X, Y, and Z. I
Mhm.
still, I'm still trying to find my footing in this area.
Mhm.
Just because I gave my life over to Christ doesn't mean that I don't battle with other things. I don't
Mhm.
battle with temptation. I don't battle with maybe drinking. I don't battle with lying. I don't battle with cheating. Prime example. Okay, I'm gonna just give you a little reality example. I watch the show BMF. Do you watch the show BMF?
I do.
The mama and the daddy.
Yes.
Prime example. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And here's the thing: like the mother is going to church every Sunday. The father up there playing the guitar in the church. Okay, the guitar.
And playing something
Hello, fine tuning it. Okay, fine tuning it on multiple occasions. All right. And it's just the reality is they what I noticed in the relationship and rapport with her children, she's constantly like, oh, you need to, how I raised you, how this, that, and the third, and we're in the church, and I get that, I respect that. But in this same sake, you don't allow your children to see a struggle. You hide that from them. You give them the sanctified side of you. You give them the perfected side of you. You give them the polished side of you. And I'm not saying, oh, be in there smoking with your kids, yeah, this, that, and the third, but keep it realistic so that way they have a prime example of seeing their parents. Like, yeah, my parent was she went to church, my father went to church, and maybe they struggled through their marriage, but they worked through it. I seen God do the work. But if
Mhm.
all I see is you in perfection mode, where do I see God do the work? Where do I see that
Right.
example? I don't.
Right. Yep.
And a lot of times I feel like that's what happens in the church when it comes to sex, when it comes to anything, that we quote unquote should not be doing, or the things that God desires for us and his expectations. I feel like sometimes people just only show us the end result
Yes, the finished
and not
product.
necessarily the process.
Right. Exactly.
You don't
And
just wake up being a sanctified prayer. Like, oh yeah, well, how did you get to this point?
exactly. And
And it's important.
it is. It's very
Now, can you say when you were growing up, did you have examples of, just like even if it was your parents or maybe siblings or other family members or friends, like just seeing an actual example of a true, transparent walk with Christ, like a walk with God?
that example was in my home, and it was my mother. It was
Yeah.
my mom. And that's why I was, before you asked it, I was just going to say people don't understand how much power it is in your testimony.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, not just showcasing, the finished product, but showing people like God has brought me from this, addicted to this, doing this.
Exactly.
And it's not even a whole bunch of addictions and stuff, but the type of spirits that could be on you. I was mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was judgmental, I wasn't loving. And like when I
Yeah.
submit, this is the process that God took me through in order to get where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that my mom never did was hide her past from us.
That's
And
it right
we
there.
have had so many conversations as young as I can remember, like middle school,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
about where she was when she got saved. My mom has been in the church her whole life since teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
And then her backsliding state to where she, was disconnected from God, and then
Mm-hmm.
where she is now. And I have witnessed, of course, not prior to me being born,
Yeah.
but I have
Yeah.
witnessed that whole process for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but then I have family members who I didn't know they went through anything. All I knew was the saved version of you,
Exactly.
because you try, or they try to hide their past or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
may be, not knowing that if you would have sat down and been transparent with your niece or
Mm-hmm.
with your coworker or whatever, how much
Whomever.
more
Exactly.
that could have brought to God, because you could have been speaking to a person that's dealing with that same thing and they don't know how to deal with
Exactly.
it, but they don't know how to come to you because you may stump them over the head with the Bible
Come on
and
now.
talk so down on them, not knowing, or not knowing, but not remembering where you were.
Where you were.
So
Exactly.
that
In the
is the
beginning.
thing in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
seen both within family, because
Absolutely.
in the church, of course,
Girl.
it's so many hush hush. And then when things hit the fan, it's like, oh my gosh. But it's like, why aren't we being transparent? Why aren't we
Exactly.
being open in the
Yeah.
spaces where we are hurting? And then
Mm-hmm.
it brings a sense of, the false humility. Stop telling
Girl.
me that you're okay when you're not. Stop saying, well, I'm so blessed. We know that you are. But it's
Right.
like, what is hurting you right now? Or what are you still trying to get over?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yeah. Ooh,
I
that was a good one. That was a
agree.
good one. Girl.
Honestly.
And it's real, like, and it what I've noticed is you can gather more people to, or not even gather or convince, but you can relate more with people when you're just transparent with your story. And that's part of the reason why I
Yes.
started this podcast. Because I know that maybe my delivery may be a little different. It may be a little colorful. It
That's
may
fine.
be, it may be a little razzle dazzle here and there. But I know that people will connect and they will hear me and they will be
Mhm.
able to see God's light in me just based upon what I've gone through, based
Yes.
upon my story. You know what I mean? And I can't be ashamed of what I've gone through because clearly I'm here now. Like you said earlier, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So I needed to go through a couple of epic fail. Um, but I needed to do that because the reality is my testimony is bigger than me.
Yes.
It's bigger than me. It will always be bigger than me. My testimony is here to help someone else either avoid it, encourage, get them through whatever. That's someone else's breakthrough.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the more you hide it, the less that they will be able to actually have that platform, that safe space to be like, you know what,
Yes.
I'm battling this too. I can
Mhm.
connect with that. Because think about it,
Mhm.
when you meet somebody new, I'm not just about to be like, oh yeah, I'm addicted, and I got this. But the minute you start, you open it up and you be vulnerable with me and you share something about yourself and then I share something about, we got a whole dialogue coming. You know what I
Whole
mean?
dialogue. Yes.
And I think sometimes the church forgets that. They forget that, and unfortunately, it kind of plays with a lot of, especially the youth being involved in church, because times are so much different than when our parents were,
Mhm.
growing up, from when our grandparents were growing up. It's so much different, and people are battling some things that are beyond me. You know what I mean? And it's hard to do that alone.
Yes. And it is.
I can only imagine how hard it is to do it without support system, like physical people that you know.
Yes.
But to do that without God, that I can't imagine.
Yes. Yes.
So if my testimony helps bring you in to him and bring you into that breakthrough, bring you into having that covering, then baby, let me just tell you my whole life. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell
Yes.
you, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let me be that
Exactly.
light.
And
So
that is,
yes.
you can just come into partnership with that person,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, once people, come to Christ, they still need to be equipped and have the knowledge to know what to do. So that's why it's good to get in community, get into those small groups, those Bible studies,
Exactly.
anything, like have that accountability partner
Yeah.
that, believes in the same thing that you believe in first and foremost. You don't want nobody telling you
Exactly.
something crazy. Or,
Girl.
something that goes against what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the church has lacked in my experience as well, transparency. But I feel like, what I've experienced, it was all ego driven.
Mm.
People are too tied into their titles and not what they are here to do.
Yes. Exactly. You elder such and such. You bishop this and that and da 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 da. At the end of the day, we all are children of God. Like that
And,
title goes nowhere.
and yes, and it's like, yes, God appoints certain people to preach and teach
Right.
on different platforms. On different platforms, your
Mm-hmm.
job may be to lead a church, but lead it with the right heart posture. Your
Exactly.
job may be to do it on a podcast, do it wherever, and that is where we tie everything back into being,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, being of the world but not in it, because
Exactly.
we do have a certain standard of things. So God
Mm-hmm.
may put you in the wilderness of somewhere of you being uncomfortable, but that is being a part of the world and
Yeah.
spreading the gospel. So it doesn't matter the platform you do it on. You just have to do it with the right heart,
And the
you
right
know.
intentions.
And
Exactly.
it's right. And so I think that's another thing that the church has failed at in my experience.
Yeah.
And I have been a part of some great organizations
Yeah.
that, you know, their culture is generosity, their culture is love, and the
Mm-hmm.
culture is being open
Yeah.
and honest with where you are, because we are all humans
Girl.
that, I don't care how many master's degrees that you have, there is always going to be something about the kingdom that you do not know, and it is going to change
Exactly.
by second, by day, whatever. But then
And
you
that's a
have
part of
people,
life.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
part of life. And then you have people that have the church hurt because if they had the question, you talking to somebody that's been saved for 25 years, but
Mm-hmm.
the fruit doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, I can't talk to you. I can't have the question because
Exactly.
all
You
you
don't even
have is,
make it comfortable for me to
yes, you
approach
don't
you
make
with
it
this question.
yes. And it's just
Already
so,
I'm going to hell for even thinking about it. So it's like
exactly.
I'd rather just not say anything.
Exactly. And it's crazy because I remember having a conversation with my dad that,
Mm-hmm.
even back then, whoever was, preaching at this particular time, I guess was like, well, you're not supposed to question God. Okay, but I'm asking you a question. If I don't
Right.
understand something, instead of being humble and being like, well, I don't know, like, I'm gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
go back and say, well, you don't question God. No, just be honest and be like, let me look into that and I'm gonna get back with you.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, and that's fair. Like we are going to have questions. People should have questions. You
Mhm.
don't know if it's your first time in anything you do. You're gonna have questions. You do not know, and that's the whole point. That's how you get closer to God. Ask the questions. Become more familiar with His Word. Get involved. Church is beyond Sunday. Church is beyond the four walls. It looks so much different than what the Old Testament said. You know what I mean? Like church is presented in not just church, but His Word is presented in many different ways.
Mhm.
Whether that's a podcast, YouTube video, church service, maybe somebody on the street corner. There's a man in Chicago, and if you're from Chicago, you know this. He stands on the corner of like State and whatever that street is. I don't remember the other street. I think it's like State and Washington or something. But he stood in front. This man has been standing in front of this store for years.
Mhm.
When I say years, years. Like I'm 33, and I've never not known this man to stand in front. I think he's still standing in front of the store. I don't know, but I know he stands in front of the store, and he has a microphone, and he has a speaker, and he is out there preaching to the people. Now I don't know, like he's a little, adamant about certain things. So, like for instance, he'll be like, "You shouldn't be smoking them cigarettes. Your body is a temple of God," which he's very accurate. He is very accurate about that. But a little bit, like depending on how active he is that day, you feel like you're gonna knock you upside the head with the microphone because he's like wants you to understand. But the commitment he has of sharing his word and realizing that it's beyond the four walls, it's beyond the podium, it's beyond the. I don't even know if this man is a preacher. I just know this man stands on a corner.
Mhm.
And he's just out there all day, and he's on that speakerphone. Your body is a vessel. You shouldn't be smoking them cigarettes. You shouldn't be out there drinking. You da 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 da. Now, granted, it's a little radical. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's radical. However, the commitment of knowing that I have to reach God's people outside of what I quote unquote think is normal.
Mhm.
Because what's normal to me may be abnormal to somebody else.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
we are the church. The people, not the
Exactly.
building. When
Exactly.
God says he's coming back for his church, he's not picking up
He ain't talking about the
buildings.
building. The bricks will still be there.
And the reason why we are the church is because he lives within us.
Exactly.
So it's like he may be, and that may be his area. That may be
Mm-hmm.
his domain where he needs to be. However,
Girl.
approach, he has to be doing it from, again, it all comes down to heart posture.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
all
Just
comes
like when
down
you
to
go to a doctor, you expect the doctor to have bedside manner. So he
yes,
may be delivering the worst news ever. Oh, you have a terminal illness, this, that, and the third. Oh, whatever the case, you have to have surgery. But that bedside manner will change it all up. It's
yes,
not what you say, it's how you say it, how it's
exactly.
presented, how it's done. And that
Hmm.
leads me to the whole thing of like conviction and discernment. We like, lately I've been seeing a lot of people with the globes in they bios, and like, oh,
Glow.
I'm a spiritual,
Oh,
the
the
little
glass balls.
girl, girl, girl. People be like, oh, especially out here dating, they're like, oh, I'm a spiritual person. I don't believe. And I will say that I'm not a religious type of person. Like, I know that it's beyond religion. Religion is a perspective. I do believe in God. I do attend services. I don't, the church I go to is non-denominational, but I've been in many different settings. I
Hmm.
read the Bible, like I said, through and through, but this whole like spirituality, but it's not really God, it's like manifestation, which I believe in manifestation to a certain extent, but I also believe in claiming what it is that I know God is going to provide for me.
Okay.
But it's almost like it's shifting from, oh, it's not God, it's the universe. And I'm
Right.
like, what?
Right.
Make this make sense. And I
Exactly.
respect if that's what you want to believe in,
Hmm.
cool. But like the crystals and the sage and all of that, like if you can believe in sage and a crystal,
Hmm.
I don't quite understand how you can't believe in God
But my
and
thing
his
is,
word.
you believe in the creation and not the creator?
Eh, How
It's
did it
always
get
my
here?
question. Because,
Exactly. Hey Hoochies, it's your girl Jill. If you're hearing my voice right now and seeing this video, that means that you have listened to episode 18, part 1. The conversation was so good with my featured Hoochie of the week, Miss DeJonae herself, that we had to do a part 2. So come back next week and you can get the rest of this actual episode. But in the meantime, if you're done with episode 18, go back and listen to some more. See y'all later. And remember, keep it laced.